What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. My friend, how are you?
Oh, you know what? I got to admit, I am a Suns fan because obviously I lived in the area for a long time, and I am loving the new look Suns. I am
Uh,
loving the new look Suns.
it is fun. It is fun that being a lifelong Suns fan, I am not believing any hype until we're holding a trophy in late June.
But here's the thing that I mean, yes, a trophy is going to be nice, but just the buzz nationally, the buzz locally about this team it's amazing. I mean, this team with those two superstars, there'll always be conversations about this team. I know that the new owner loves the new ticket prices that are out there to see Kevin Durant play for the Phoenix Suns. I mean, even if they don't win, the buzz around this team is just different. It is just
Yeah,
absolutely different.
it's a different vibe, man. And I've been watching he's only played 3 games so far. I think 4 by the time we release this. And
Yeah.
the first 3 have been a lot of fun. And it looks like a seamless transition. I did not want to get rid of Mikal Bridges in that trade, but he is clearly tearing it up over in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I
He,
mean, it's going to be one of those that, yeah, we gave up a heck of a lot more than even when we did at the time we gave him up. He's going to be a beast, dude. That guy is going to be a beast on that team, on that Brooklyn team.
but what's nice is though is when Kevin Durant's contract expires and he retires, Mikal Bridges will be a free agent over in Brooklyn, and Mikal will come home in 2026. So I'm not worried about that. That
Good.
is that is my prediction right here. And by the time he comes home, he will be the stud player everybody knows he can be. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a
And think
lot of
about
fun.
that. Yeah, think about that because we're coming up on the end of season 6. So we'll be starting season 7 in a few weeks. And that means that we'll be in season 10 by the time that Mikhail comes back.
Yes, yes, and hopefully he can be a guest on the show because we'll be big enough and have double-digit regular
Oh,
listeners by then.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we'll be up to at least 11 listeners per episode
Oh, I think so.
by the time that he's ready to come talk to us.
I think so. And I'll be honest, having all this development with the Suns over the last week or so has been a nice change of pace because up here in northwestern Arizona, we've had quite the snowfall. We had 10 inches last week, which is unheard of. It's not quite snowpocalypse level of 2019, where we had 22 in a day, but 10 inches is still pretty significant for a desert town.
Hey, I mean, we were even getting some sleet in Phoenix. So yeah, I understand. And that's the thing about Arizona that a lot of people outside of Flagstaff don't realize. You talk 10 inches of snow, that'll shut down the city. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that shuts the city down.
3 inches of snow
There's
will shut down the city. You
Well,
know,
yeah, exactly. So 10 inches, that's a lot. That's a lot.
and what's nice is it'll be 65 degrees this weekend, so you go from 10 inches of snow to 65 degrees. So that's a nice swing.
Yeah, there you go.
But through all this development, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on the show before, but our neighbor, our little old neighbor lady. Have I ever brought her up on the show? I believe I have.
Oh, wait a minute. I think you have the one that like wants to talk for an hour and a half.
Yeah, who had the map of everyone
Uh,
where they live and whatnot in the street. So
yeah.
the snow hits, and that's fine. Everyone should shut her in. And this lady is older from California. And I get she comes from a place that has a sense of community. She took it upon herself to organize all of the children in the neighborhood to have play dates in the snow and
Oh,
games and whatnot, which is a very nice gesture if that's what you want. Uh,
okay. Yeah, if that's what you want, perfect. That's a good way of saying it. Good. Okay.
we did not have one of the children. She was with her father.
Okay.
The other child was grounded.
Okay.
So she got to go play outside. She got some yard time with her mom to enjoy the snow. But, you know, it was a little bit of time. And then when they were done, they were done. And she's at that age now where when she's done with it, she's over it. There's more things to do inside that don't involve getting cold. So this lady organizes it on the snow day on Wednesday night and Thursday, and there's no school because obviously the city shuts down.
Okay.
And I come home from work on Thursday, and she's like, "Well, all the kids had such a fun time. I don't know why yours just don't come out." And I said, "It's because they're busy. One's with their dad, and one's grounded. just leave it alone. And she said, well, we're having a play date. All the children in the neighborhood are coming to my house tomorrow at 2:00 in the driveway, and we're gonna have a play date. So make sure they're there. I was like, well, one child is with her dad, the other one depends on her homework, and what else is going on. But I will ask her. So I went and I asked her. I said, what do you want to do? It's your call. She goes, what would you do? I said, I wouldn't answer the door. I said, I won't answer the door if you don't want me to, but if she sees my vehicle, she will know that we're here. And she had the best response. Like, well, can we just go do something? Can we get out of the house? Can we go to Chili's? I was like,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. You trained her well. You trained her very well. Scott.
Yeah. I was like, okay. Yeah, sure. That's fine. So I come home from work on Friday. And like, she's packed, like she's ready to go. Like, she's like, it's 2:00 is coming. We don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Let's go. Now, mind you, she's also been at the house all week because of the weather and being grounded. So this is a double win for her. She's getting out of the house and she's avoiding having to do something she doesn't want to do. So we go off, we take off, and we go shopping at Home Depot, and we go to Chili's, and hang out for a little while. And we come home about 4:00, and we thought we'd missed it. We thought we were in the clear, and no, the lady was late getting home, so it was just getting started.
Oh God!
God.
Oh.
So
okay.
I had already talked to the lady earlier in the day. I was like, I don't know, like just leave it alone. This lady sent neighborhood kids over to the door to knock on the door to see if kids, like stranger kids that have never dealt with our kids before. And this is also the same lady that last summer brought 3 random kids from down the street at like 8:00 at night to our house, so we would know there's other kids on the street.
Okay.
Are in your experience, before I go any further, are there any red flags that are popping up?
I think there potentially are red flags, but I think I would lean more into, if my daughter doesn't want to do this, she doesn't want to do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything that, I don't want to be around this crazy woman. I don't want to be around other kids. If she doesn't feel comfortable doing something, then we shouldn't force a kid to do something because all the other kids are doing it, and why wouldn't you? I mean, so I mean, some might argue the opposite of what we're probably thinking about this woman. I'm sure there's a lot of unique people out there that think what a tremendous thing that this total stranger is trying to do for our little neighborhood to make us closer and more of a closely knit neighborhood, and tisk on anyone who doesn't think that that's cool.
And before we go any further, I will preface that as how I explained it to our oldest the other day. And it's like, listen, she comes from a place where her neighborhood was a community. She's trying to establish a community here, which is fine. And we have been polite about not wanting to do the thing she's offering to do. But there gets to be a certain point where, it's like, 50 no's still yes, but we're not saying yes. So stop.
Yeah, well, and let's be honest. If the child was saying, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to go on a play date. That would be so wonderful," even with your personal feelings about the woman, you would probably say, "Okay,"
yeah,
and let her go. Because there are some kids that are like that. They're like, "I just want to be around other kids. I don't care." So
and we did say that. We did say, "Hey, you want to go? That's on you. We are here. We are fine. Stay outside." That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we care about. Stay outside. So, that happens on Friday. It's all quiet on Saturday. Sunday, I went to go watch the Suns game and ran into you and your lovely fiance coming home from a weekend.
Yes.
And, we chatted for a while, and when I got home, I beat Janice home, and the neighbor had caught Janice coming in and informed her that she's organizing play dates for the entire neighborhood every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:00. So it's a shame that our girls have not been involved with it yet. And Janice was just gobstopped, and she had the best answer. She goes, "Well, Scott's got baseball. Jen is with her dad, our youngest, and the other one has homework, and she's grounded. And she can't leave the house if none of us are home. And since Scott has baseball, I'm still working. Probably not going to be a thing." And was polite about it. So I come home for lunch today. We're recording on Monday, and to make sure the message got across, our oldest wrote a note because she found a needlepoint over the weekend that said, "Like a good neighbor, stay over there," and she put it in the front window by her door, which it's not
Wow.
me. I mean, this kid is just, she's over it. And on that, she wrote a note to the lady. He's like, "Hey, my sister's with her dad. I have homework. I don't want to do it. I'm here, but please leave me alone." And I had to take it down. It's like, you can't be telling people you're here by yourself. Your intentions are right. In the business world, that's a very blunt email, and I respect that. But here, you really can't. Like, it's not okay. Because there are feelings involved, and she's trying to be nice and do a nice thing. And also, I can't have you telling people you're here by yourself when when we're not here. That's just not okay. So I took
Well,
it down.
and the only thing that's kind of tough on that is, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I've experienced this a couple times in my life where I was adamant about doing something. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it, and somehow I had to do whatever it was that I didn't want to do, and turned out to be one of the better experiences of my life.
Yeah, and we've all done
So,
that.
I mean, and so the only thing that I do think about is, why you don't want to do something. Sometimes is more of a reflection on you than on the person who is
Yeah,
offering
and
that. And I mean, that's not here and there. Everyone experiences that in some way, form, or other. Um, uh, that there's going to be opportunities in life where you may not think you want to do something. It's kind of like, I don't like this book. Have you ever read it? Well, no, but I don't like it.
yeah,
Well, if you've never read it, then how can you even form an opinion about
exactly.
what it is? That being said, I'm not saying that this situation was one of them. I do agree with the way you looked at it. You don't have to be rude about it.
Yeah,
It's very easy to say, I'm just not comfortable. I'd rather, I'm just not interested in that kind of play date. But thank you so much for thinking of me
it,
and been done.
and I'll be honest, not at all in the letter. She's just blunt, and like I said,
Well, which
in
could
the
be
business world,
construed as rude.
exactly, in the business world, like, oh, okay, but in, like, when you're talking to an older lady who doesn't understand today's world necessarily, it's not. It's probably not the best.
Well, not to
But
mention is that I can probably think of several situations for your daughter that I don't think she'd want us to be blunt to her
yeah,
about what's truly going on.
yeah,
And believe me, if a woman ever asked you, "Do I look good in this?" you said, "No, you look hideous."
y-
Doesn't go over well, no matter how
exactly.
truthful it is. So, anyways, that's
Yeah,
neither here nor there either. But no, I think that she was though and say, this is not my thing. I appreciate it, but it's just not my thing. I feel like the woman was a little inappropriate to say it's a shame that your daughters don't do this. It would
yeah,
have been better for her to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to be doing these play dates Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursdays, your daughter is always welcome anytime she wants to come over." She could have left it
yeah,
at that. It would have been a positive with Janice. It might have even been a positive to your daughter to say, "Hey, it's open to me. Maybe I'll try it once."
yeah,
But to say, "Oh, it's a shame," it's all wording, right? That's all wording.
yeah. It is.
Communication
It's
of the
wording.
message, and to say, "Oh, it's a shame that your daughters," because that's like a judgmental thing.
Hmm.
Because it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Oh, you're the type of parents that don't let your daughter do these kind of things," or "It's a shame that she can't be involved." Maybe it's not. Maybe the kids are too young.
yeah. Well, and that's
I
it.
mean, there's so many things.
And she straight up looked at me and said, "I saw those kids. They're all younger than me. I don't want to hang out with them. It's not personal, but I just don't want to." I was like, "All right, cool. If you
Yeah.
change your mind, you know where they're at.
You know
It's
where
up
they're
to
at.
you."
Exactly.
And
She could easily have left it at, "Hey, it's open anytime. If she ever wants to stop by, we'd love to have her." Boom, done.
you hit it right on the head. It's on all on how you deliver the message. So I have left it open ended with her. And I said, "Hey, I'm off from baseball practice for a couple weeks because of spring break. But she's gone. She's going to see her dad for her spring break. So it's not a problem. It's a moot point until school comes back. But man, I appreciate that she's getting very blunt in her. This is what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is not what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, but you got to soften a little bit because her mom's very blunt. I'm very blunt in a lot of ways, but I'm also very political. So I'm trying to explain to her that there are politics of a neighborhood, and you never know when you might need a neighbor's help or you might have to help a neighbor. So you don't always want to burn that bridge unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's ways to be blunt and yet not rude.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? To be blunt and be rude are two different things. Like I was talking about with this woman, she could have been blunt and said, "You're invited anytime,"
Yeah.
and left it at that. She didn't, and as a result, even when you told me what she said, it's like, oh, that's kind of rude.
Yeah.
It's a shame that your daughters can't participate. Well, maybe there's an active reason why they can't participate. Like they don't like you,
Yeah. Or
or
they're
maybe
not
they
here
like to
or they have
choose
homework.
they like to choose the activities they want to do.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
exactly.
whatever the reason. So, anyways, but on the other side, words mean something. Words mean something, and I think a lot of people don't really understand that. Uh, the way that words are said or written, they do have a meaning. They have a context
They
that becomes important. And so, you know, I think if more people realize that, maybe they would understand when someone gets really pissed off at them. You
you know
know,
they do have a con. Words do have a context. They do have matters. They do mean things. And
yeah,
as I was reading an article this week, and it's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you saw, but they are going back and editing Dr. Seuss books to take out certain words, to take out certain phrases because they're not politically correct anymore.
right. I
And
didn't read that, but I've heard that they're doing that.
and I've heard they're doing that with Huck Finn and the other classic novels. To me, it's
Right.
interesting that we're going back and almost whitewashing, I guess is the best way to put it, our literature to make sure it's less offensive than what it was meant to be when it was written. And I don't think it was ever meant to be written offensively in the time it was written. It was just how things were said in a certain time period.
Right. I mean, the reality is that, especially with Huck Finn. I mean, the reality was that it was written during a time when slavery and there was a distinction, a segregation of blacks and whites, and a hierarchy of that such. Um,
So
you know,
that leads me to a question I want to pose to you. Is it okay in your mind to go back and revise classic literature, classic books to fit today's world, or is it better to have a parental warning, as it were, like they used to have on the CDs back in the '90s for certain books, and have edited versions and the original versions with the original words?
um, my personal feeling is that um, you shouldn't edit at all, uh, or you should be able to edit everything.
That makes
If
sense.
you and I'll give you a perfect example. They want to, let's say that they feel that the language in Huck Finn is a little too um, you know racist, eh, anti segregation, anti equal rights. Okay, let's say that that's the truth. And someone says, you know what, I don't like, one of the things I really dislike about the way that Florida is deciding what's bad or what's good is this idea of, well, I don't like being made to feel bad because I'm white.
Yeah.
That part, is the logic to say, well, I want to change this book because the verbiage is a little too pointed toward me as a white person, and so I want to take that out because I don't want to feel bad about myself. Okay, that's fine. You want to feel that, then I should be able to go through the Bible and change that too, because there's some things in there that make me feel bad.
No, I agree. I believe it's an all
Um,
or nothing approach, and we're not doing that because how dare you do that to a book that you're supposed to adhere to and admire.
Yeah, and not to be a book snob, because you know that I kind of can be, but one of the central points about Huck Finn, which made it such a wonderful book, is the conflict of a 12-year-old saying, "I'm friends with a black person, yet I'm supposed to hate this person.
Yeah.
Am I going to hell because I don't hate this person?"
Yeah, no, I agree.
Why would you want to whitewash that message away because the discussion of slavery and white, being more, I just don't that. That's the part that it trumps me up because I don't understand why we're so afraid to look at a real issue. We just want to scrape it under the rug and
Yeah.
not look at a real issue. Yeah, and that's the problem too. Is I got to be honest. Like I said earlier, some of these people want to whitewash a book and they've never even read Huck Finn.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
if you don't even know if you don't even know what the book is about, who made you the expert to decide what you want to wash and what you don't?
But don't you think a lot of that though is the way people absorb the media today? Because someone said it best the other day. It's like the news isn't the news anymore. The news is, socially pointed influencing more than anything else. So depending how you want to feel is what channel you watch. And if you're watching a channel that says you should be, ashamed of having to read these books, so we're editing them, uh, that's a problem.
Yeah, well, and it's definitely pointed when you start whitewashing books or taking books off of the libraries.
Yeah.
You know, you take books off of the libraries because you feel that that's, too dangerous of a topic.
Weren't they supposed to
Um,
stop selling To Kill a Mockingbird?
I'm assuming for the same reasons, right? It's because it tells the story of a black man who's falsely accused of a crime, and
Yeah.
the white racists of the town convict him anyways. So probably, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could look at any of those. I mean, Huck Finn, you could probably look at that. You could probably look at any of those books written, during that time. That they're so dangerous. Dangerous to discuss. I was watching something recently, and now the big push is that any reference of any couple that's not a man or a woman needs to be taken down because it could promote a lifestyle that is just egregious to some conservative people. So just take the book away. Um, but it's always pointed. You're right. Then let's edit every book.
Yeah.
And if
No,
we're going to
I
edit
agree.
every book, then what's the point of writing a book?
Yeah, I guess what gets me on this is everyone. And this is going to sound bad to say, so I'm going to have to choose my words very carefully. You talk about conservatives in that regard. They lean heavily on the Bible. You mentioned editing the Bible earlier because just as a counterpoint, uh,
Yes.
they cling to this idea of what the Bible says about love and how it should be, but they miss the overarching points of it's about forgiveness and unity and learning to love someone regardless of their faults, you know,
Right.
and those undertones that they miss because they interpret it differently. I think are part of the bigger problem in this world. People see the words and they take them for face value and they don't look at the context and they don't understand the subversiveness or the messaging of what they're trying to get across through that story.
Yeah, and I get a little offended that people are so worried about um, someone reading this story and it's going to alter their mind about how they view the world so much that they're so worried about me that me reading about two men being gay and starting a family, it's either it's going to make me think that being gay is what I want to be, or that I couldn't possibly understand the ramifications of what being gay parents would be like. That it's just too much for my simple mind. It just floors me, and I'm a little bit more sensitive to it than a lot of people. But I don't want Ron DeSantis to tell me how I should interpret a book.
Yeah.
Like I'm using him as a term because he is a big proponent of taking out anything that anything in our new society that would be he deems is just not appropriate. Um, and who are you? First of all, why are you deciding what's appropriate for everyone else? And two, that's my job to decide what's appropriate for me. Just like it's your job to decide what's appropriate for you. It's not your job to take away everything that you feel is inappropriate because you feel it is. I don't. So I lose out
Yeah.
because you don't find it appropriate. Maybe you're the one that has the problem. Maybe you're the one that has issues that are dealing with. Now, this is a lot different though than saying, "Hey, look, you're 4 years old. You do not need to be reading a story at 4 years old about racist ideas or, you know, I do not have a problem with a parent saying, let's be age appropriate.
Yeah. I think
But just like let's do this full circle, right? We're coming back. Your daughter 11
12.
or 12 or 11 going on 12, she should be able to decide if she wants to do a play date or not. It's age
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah.
It's age appropriate, you know? And
Well, I said it feels like this whole culture war for what's age appropriate versus what's not is spreading. Did you see this report out of Tennessee? The governor banned drag shows, and
yes,
like
yes, I did see that one.
to minors, and the bigger sponsors like, well, hold on, I don't think minors are going to this show. They don't just break out like they're usually behind closed doors and late at night. So before you get all crazy and start banning things, let's look at the context and reality of the situation.
Well, and once again, don't I as a parent, they always want to talk about freedom, right? We defend freedom. Well, you don't defend the freedom for me as a parent to decide what's appropriate for my child. You just instantly say, no, it's not appropriate.
Well, it's the age-old adage. I'm going to defend the freedoms I want as long as they're my freedoms, not your freedoms.
Well,
Because your freedoms don't matter compared to my freedoms. Because I'm right about my.
yeah. I mean, what do you think, Scott? I mean, as we wrap this up, I mean, do you think that they should take out language that might be, um, may be inappropriate? Do you think we should go back to books and look them over and make a determination?
No, because that's very Fahrenheit 451. I don't like that, but I think if you're going to have to find a compromise, the best compromise is listen, put a warning label on it, and you can have a cleaned up edited version if that's what you so feel you want you want to read it, you want someone underage to read, or it's age appropriate. But I think people should have the option of reading the words that were written for the time and for the context. I think that goes a long way. I think understanding what was meant in that day and age, it goes a long way to understanding our history as a civilization.
Well, yeah, chronicle of the history. That's right. Yeah. So
So
the other thing that like it would be appropriate um, to let everyone kind of determine that on their own, instead of having a small group of people determine what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. Let's be honest. There was a vast amount of people in the United States in the 20s who thought drinking alcohol should be illegal. It did not stop the creation of alcohol. It did not stop the consumption of alcohol. All it did was move it to an underground location and a heck of a lot more violence because it was an illegal
yeah,
action.
Jeff Goldblum said it best: "Nature always finds a way."
Yeah, nature always finds a way. That's
It
right.
always finds a way.
So yeah, and
I just do think it's weird that we are getting um, very sci-fi in our modern world as we get more technology, because there are a lot of allusions to Animal Farm 1984 and like Fahrenheit 451 with some of the topics going on today. And if you haven't read those books, I would suggest you read them before someone tries to edit them for
yeah, exactly.
for what they're, especially Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I mean, that's a great book about editing. It's very ironic for the topic. But as we wrap up today's show, is there a book that you are mad that they have edited or are trying to change? We want to hear about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Our EP Tom is looking for some summer reading ideas. So what are some great books he should read this summer up in the Denver metro area? Hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and the Instagram.
Yeah, no, I think it's best, and I think we talked about cults before, and I think there must be just a blockage in my mind. I don't want someone else thinking for me. I'm good enough to think on my own. I don't need you to tell me how I should think. And I kind of equate the cults to these kind of people. Oh, you can't emotionally handle this story. I want to change it for your benefit. Hey, you know what? I don't need you. I don't know who you are, and I certainly don't trust that you know anything about what I can understand or not understand. So
Can we
I
research a
guess.
cult and try to join one just to see how far we can get?
Oh man, I don't know, but I mean, I I just I just have always had a stumbling block about someone telling me I'm the only way that you should think. The way
No,
I think
sure.
is the way you should think. I can make that determination on my own, and right now, because you're forcing me, I'm good. So yeah, let's find a cult. Let's do it. Let's see if we can do an online cult somewhere and see how far we go.
Yes. This has a great idea written all over it.
I know we could do a 10-part miniseries on the podcast for how we joined and broke a cult.
Yes. That being said, take us home.
Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We really enjoyed talking to you guys today. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid courage.